Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So I wanted to do this video in regards to the question, what are blue zones and why is it important? So this is going to be part one of a 2 to 3 series of videos that talk about blue zones because it's something that I've been thinking about for a long time. So I and probably a lot of people have known about blue zones for a long time. So if you're not really so familiar with what a blue zone is, they're basically these pockets of populations around the world that have really healthy lifestyles, just overall really positive and good quality of life. But there's also these pockets of centenarians that live in these areas. And so I've been thinking about blue zones a little bit during coronavirus. And another video that I'm going to do will kind of discuss how you can make your home its own blue zone, especially if you're going to be kind of stuck at home for a while. Here in Washington State, we still have the stay-at-home order for another month. So, as the gradual process opens up to go back to normal life, we're going to be stuck inside or indoors for the bulk of it, especially during our workday. Why I've thought about this is because I do work with seniors, specifically at the Jewish retirement home. These people are they're up there in age. I'm working with a lot of 95, 96, 97, 98-year-olds. I do work with one 100-year-old, and a lot of these people are very physically fit, but also they're mental. A lot of them are very mentally with it. Now, there are some that are in assisted living, but this has made me think. Some of it might be the genetics, but also I've thought a lot about how these people lived, but also were raised prior to this kind of modern culture that we know with artificial food and just toxic work environments in general. So throughout my travels, when I've lived in India and Germany and spent time or lived in Australia, I traveled so much to where I really started to look at how the world kind of eats, thinks, and lives. And the places that I've noticed, mainly outside of the United States, now this is changing with modernism and globalism, is that most of the world there was just a cultural difference. The root cause was a cultural difference that they were less stressed. They didn't have these high-stress work environments. Some industries have that no matter where you live, things like banking, and probably just working for corporations in general. Generally, they ate more healthy food. A lot of them used their physical body in terms of commuting, so they were dependent on public transit where you have to walk more or you would bike. And just the overall social support system. Talking to people from Denmark, I've spoken about this in other videos, is that they were really caring about the future generations. So they did not mind paying 50% tax because they knew that the future Danish kids would grow up and be the leaders, and hopefully this chain reaction happens throughout the generations. So I've found that this is really important because we don't have a lot of this in America because our culture is set so differently and our lives are revolved around work and money. And as you're seeing with coronavirus, states are opening up the economy, and coronavirus hasn't even dipped that much. We've maybe leveled or maybe gone down a little bit, but this is just an indicator of how rooted we are to money and survival in this country. So it is a cultural difference. And that is very much one of the big qualities in a blue zone. So blue zones are people that are inhibiting a common lifestyle characteristics that contribute to quality of life and longevity. This has been studied throughout various populations throughout the world, such as Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, in Italy, Loma Linda, and I think there were just maybe another place in Africa. There's blue zones in pockets. There's pockets of blue zones in Switzerland. So what are the common general characteristics? So besides their actual gene pool, they were related to lifestyle choices. So a lot of these revolved around family. So they put their family ahead of other concerns. The culture in that society or community or population not necessarily was always family first, but family values were of most important. It was not an individualized society like what we see today in America. Um, the second thing was there was less smoking. Generally, with less smoking, you seem to have less consumption of alcohol. In Europe, a lot of times they consumed alcohol on a much healthier level than you do in America, where alcoholism is a big issue. Now, these cultures also were semi-vegetarianism. So what did that mean? Some of them still ate some still ate meat, but the majority of them consumed a higher amount of plant-based foods, such as fruit and vegetables. In addition, legumes were commonly consumed. Another quality that all of these populations shared is that there was social engagement. People of all ages in their society were socially active and engaged within their community. So in the book, The Blue Zone, there were basically 9 major lessons that covered this lifestyle of Blue Zone people, that the 9 characteristics found that people engaged in moderate and regular physical activity. Now in America, we generally consider physical activity more or less as your actual scheduled regimen gym session or your personal training session. A lot of these poor communities don't have gyms. They just moved more. They walked. Maybe they had to walk to get water. They gardened. They're actually just upright and moving rather than being seated and sedentary all day at a desk job. A second thing the book talks about, the Blue Zone book, is that these people have life purpose. A lot of times when you look at people's life purpose in America, their identity comes from what they do. They are a tech engineer, they are a programmer, you are a healer, you are an artist. These people found life purposes through other realms of life that were not linked directly to their work. Stress reduction. This is where the cultural thing comes into play from what I saw in India and in Germany and Australia. Overall, culturally, their societies were less stressed. They weren't living in an individualized narcissistic society where the boss was just micromanaging you to get all these Excel spreadsheets done within the day, or, your landlord harping on you about, the rent raises and things like that. Like overall, the society was a little bit more peaceful. When a society is more peaceful, generally the individual family structure, the family unit, or the individual unit will be less stressful in general. They had moderate caloric intake. They ate normal-sized meals. You eat when you're hungry. You don't eat when you're not hungry. They don't have supersized meals. They don't have fast food. They're not consuming high amounts of fat and sodium and sugar and processed foods like we do in America. The fifth one, mainly a plant-based diet. I kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, of the common characteristics of what all of them shared, but this is going back to the state that these people on whole, although they ate meat, consumed higher plant-based foods. Moderate alcohol intake, especially wine. A lot of times what I found in other cultures is that alcohol was used as a form of celebration or as a form of socialism. It wasn't this Hollywood programming where you go to some epic house party and you're going to get plastered and do a bunch of keg stands and things like that. The seventh thing is that these people, these blue zones, also engaged in spirituality or religion. So to some degree, they were a little bit more spiritually sound. They had some form of faith, whether it was cosmic or religious in general, but they were connected to something higher to them. The eighth thing, engagement in family life. Kind of discussed that earlier. And the ninth and final thing is that there was an engagement in social life. So why is this important? It's important to reflect on these qualities because they are so drastically different than America. I live in Seattle. It's always been kind of antisocial, and some of that is because of the background of the heritage of a lot of the Nordic and Swedish people. They kind of kept within their family unit and weren't exactly the most, social immigrants and social cultures in general. But now with the tech industry living out here, and you get a bunch of antisocial tech people that are kind of more hermit types, the kind of quiet, shy types. It's just very different to analyze. So when you're looking at places that were of well-being versus what's happening in America, you can see that we are living completely different or backwards. And a lot of that is because society is structured and set up that way. If you have a job that you wake up and go to and you love every day and you don't have a bunch of stress, you're probably one of the very few lucky ones in America, because a lot of people are still working their dream job but are suffering at their job because the work culture is toxic or the boss is toxic. These factors of life are so different, and when something like you spend so much time at work, so when that place is toxic or unhealthy, a lot of that's a ripple effect, and that will come into the home or into the family unit. Men may blow off steam by coming home and cracking a beer. They may blow off steam by beating up their wife. They may blow off steam by just being very aggressive or violent or just angry all the time and having, all these kind of quote unquote unresolved issues. So blue zones are important because no matter how much information is out there on things like body positivity and all this stuff, people are generally at their best mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically when they feel good about life or when they're living in some sort of bubble of wellness and well-being. There are always exceptions to the rule. So yes, there are people who are quote unquote fat and happy and they're obese and they don't really care. They smoke cigarettes and eat a bunch of fast food and they live till they're 95. Those exceptions happen, but the general populace that goes into a lot of certain, I guess, qualities or traits, most people operate when they're feeling well. Not many people come home from a stressful day at work with a big smile on their face and say, like, I can't wait to eat a vibrant meal. Most people, if you come home from work, you're going to be tired. You're going to want to eat a bunch of crappy food or maybe drink alcohol or just binge in front of the television. So as we're thinking about this with coronavirus, I'm going to talk about this in the next video on how to set up your apartment or your home, or just make a blue zone. You don't even have to buy anything. It's structuring. The points that I talked about were all about community and engagement and eating healthier, and that's so different than what happens today. We're becoming less social because of technology. We're becoming lonely. I've been to nutrition and fitness conferences where I've listened to, these top doctors, one being Dr. Mark Hyman, stating he thought the root cause for almost any health issue today is because of loneliness. Most of obesity, probably if you peel back the onion layers, is rooting back to loneliness. So bringing some awareness about the blue zone lifestyle, we can start to adopt these qualities and traits, or just analyze the 9 different lessons that are learned from the blue zones and applying it to our life. Yesterday when I did that video on the wellness wheel helps you bring awareness to what is working and not working in your life. So these are some thoughts that I have. I hope the blue zone kind of helps, plant some seeds in your brain to help you analyze how you're living, because it's not necessarily always about the longevity, because I work with seniors. Some of them are very thankful and they love life, and then others are miserable. They're miserable because their body is breaking down. So some of them kind of wish that they died at 87 instead of 97, where your knees and your back hurt. So it's not necessarily always about longevity. It's about the quality of life. And if you're young, you have the opportunity to set up your quality of life right now. So not only will your life improve, but as you age, your life will improve. I don't want to get too far off topic. This video is long enough, but I'm going to do another video and talk about how you can set up blue zones for your house and well-being, or your diet and your lifestyle. And this is important, especially during this time of more social isolation. So I wanted to share this during my wellness week. I'm kind of wrapping it up here, sharing some wellness tips, and I'm wearing a little pear shirt that I will be selling eventually on Etsy, that, inspiring you to be a part of nature, to get in touch with nature, to consume nature, and to find harmony within your environment. All right. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Please share your comments and such down below, and have a great day. See you next time. Bye.